Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? It's good to see
Oh,
the Alephium community out in full force. I'm seeing some new names, some classic OGs. Everybody's here. It's great to have you guys. I'm really looking forward to this space. So this is going to be a good one. How are you, man? How are things, Ryan? Good morning, I think it is for you, or afternoon,
it's
actually.
afternoon for me. Just hit afternoon. It's midday, noon, um, middle of the day for me, but it's good, man. Sunny, busy, finishing my Friday at work, but yeah, I'm definitely I've been looking forward to this space. I think AlphBanx is I, I would argue it's the most anticipated DApp launch, mainnet launch on Alephium today. I mean, it rivals our first app launch, Docs AN, when that went live. Um,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know, 2
oh
years
yeah.
ago, but this is huge.
I think this is the most hyped launch we have, and with good reason. I think we all became excited about AlphBanks when we heard Tim, the founder, discuss it on a space, and then even more so when we heard Tim pitch his idea in Athens at the meetup, and then a bunch of us got to meet Tim in person. We saw kind of the passion, the vision he had. So I think we were. I mean, for me personally, I was all in when it comes to Tim after meeting him at Athens, and it's amazing to see how in Athens, AlphBanks was just an idea, and now it's become a white paper, then testnet, and now we're close to mainnet. So watching it go from idea to fully formed DeFi lending platform is going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Tim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Tim, good
Super.
to good to hear you.
Yeah, good to hear from you guys as well. Long time no see.
Yeah, we were just talking about last week with Mode that we want to do another dev meetup soon. So you we're gonna iron down the dates for that. It'll probably be fall. But you definitely need to be there, and we definitely need to catch up in person again. It's been too long.
Sure, sure. And I think also probably will be on mainnet during that time. Have some TVL project is running. Will be a good time then as well.
No, awesome. How was Token 2049? Was
Yeah,
that
it was
good?
great. Well, it was great. Yeah, I've met Maud. I met some guys from Giga. Yeah, I've met Krodor. We discussed AlphBanks and what to do in the future. What the next tasks are and milestones. And yeah, we look forward to mainnet now, and everything starts to look very good. The audit results are getting back. We're doing small tweaks, and I guess soon we'll be done with the audit, and then we can move to mainnet.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
awesome.
Tim. I mean, I remember talking to you sometime. You were saying that one of your kind of guiding principles for AlphBanks was to create this very intuitive, user-friendly experience. And you talked to me about when you first got into DeFi way back when, how just awkward and unintuitive most of these protocols were and still are. I mean, it's the equivalent of like, Craigslist when it comes to using these DeFi platforms. So I know that when one of your guiding principles was when you use AlphBanks, it's going to be intuitive, it's going to be easy to use, and you're going to have a good time using it. And I know that was one of your guiding principles because to get mass adoption, using these platforms experience has to be top notch.
Yeah. So basically, previously when I was part of a large Bitcoin ATM network, and 2021 DeFi summer started to hit the market, right? We were as well like listing a lot of DeFi projects like Aave, Compound very early when they were coming out, right? And I could see on the ATM always the price, of Aave just pumping all the time. And then of course, like, I'm checking out what it is, how does it work, and I was seeing the increase of TVL on a daily basis to billions of dollars, right? But like what I experienced during that time was it was really hard to use it. I was like, what am I doing? How do I connect my wallet? It was very complex to use, right? And then once the ATM business got sold off, right, we came to the idea, okay, why don't we do something similar on a new ecosystem that doesn't have that, but we focus mainly on user experience, right? Because to bring millions of users in the long term, you will need protocol that is so simple to use that even a 10-year-old could just connect his wallet and understands how to borrow and understands the risk involved with it without having so much complexity, because complexity will at the end wreck most people because they don't even know what's happening to them, right? They get liquidated. Like, why actually did I get liquidated? Because they didn't understand it, or because the dashboards weren't like clear enough for the end user to use, right?
Yeah, 100%. And what I'd add is a lending protocol for anyone that's not familiar with it can be, I guess, an intimidating DApp or platform to use. So we'll definitely get into what you believe are the, I guess, some of the best strategies for someone that we could go from has experience, a lot of experience using lending protocols, some, a lot, etc. Thinks they know what they're doing versus someone that's brand new to it. What would you recommend they do to learn and get their feet wet and stay safe? And how does AlphBanx help to, I guess, guide them through um, the whole process? But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think if you don't have any experience, you should probably for sure not take all your funds, and borrow on the max collateral ratio that you can have, because at the end it's crypto, and the Oracle executes liquidations automatically, without you doing anything, So I think the best thing, if everybody starts on mainnet, start to go slowly, take like $50, I'll borrow like $10, use the stable coin, maybe leverage your Alph, or use the auction pools, right? There are many um, on our platform. It's not just like borrowing, right? You will have like auction pools, which is basically also a way to bet on liquidations. There's like many different areas, and you need to find as a user what your strategy is, right? And what you believe in. Like, if you believe Alph is going to go up in the next 6 months, you're probably going to be more on the leverage side, so you're going to borrow, right? But if you believe like Alph is going to drop in value, you can just bet against those loans. Like, you can short the loans, and if they get liquidated, you basically repay their loans and take their Alph plus up to 20% in arbitrage trade, right? So yeah, but I think the most important part is to, if you don't understand it fully, start with small amounts of money. It's like with trading, right? When you start trading, you don't go leverage 50 with all your funds. You get $100 and you get your feet wet and try to find ways. If you are profitable, then you start to increase your trading volume, right?
yeah, 100%. That makes sense. Hopefully, most of the community was able to play around with testnet when it went on testnet. But I 100% agree with you that, hey, start small, learn, understand, get liquidated, make money, but do it on a small level so that until you just become comfortable. 100%. That's great advice. All right, couple announcements I want to make. Number one, presence protocol, we are doing that again. And at the end of this, I'll give the password to mint your presence, and we're giving away $20 of ABX tokens. So stay tuned for that. One of us will pin in the comments below the link to there, and I'll provide the password towards the end. Also, this is an AMA. We're just going to ask Tim and we're the ABX team questions and just jump around. But if there's anything else that the community wants answered, please just post it below in the comments, and we'll have some people from the DAO monitoring that and helping to provide um, that feedback to us, so we make sure we get your questions answered. All right. Hey, Tim, let's before we get into specific questions about the protocol, can you just comment on what brought you to quickly, what brought you to Alph? When did the vision of ABX come to you? Did like before or after joining Alpha? When did you learn you wanted to, or I guess realize you wanted to build ABX? And then just talk a little bit about the journey from white paper to testnet to now soon mainnet.
Sure, sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. First, it came through the ATM business, right? Where I really was connecting with all the founders of the DeFi protocols, right? It was very inspiring to see their vision as well. And I study economics, so it was also interesting to me to see DeFi for the first time, right? And after that, when I came into the Alephium ecosystem through other people that joined as well, right? Yeah, I understood that Alephium is truly a decentralized protocol, right? And I mean, the definition of DeFi is decentralized finance, right? So you will need to build it on top of an L1 that is fully decentralized, which Alephium is, right? So then we started to get into that, right? We started to through my ATM business, I was as well in contact with the founders of Phantom, right, and the dev team of Phantom. And I think during that time, I just called them and I said, "Hey, I have this idea," and they said like they actually left their Phantom team already as developing team. So I talked to them and said like, "I have this idea. Should we sit together and build a plan?" Right. So we started to get into DeFi, right? We started to write the proof of concept first. For me, the focus was mainly on user experience, right? Um, and yeah, then over time we got more people involved into the team. Bruno, who was the head of engineering at Cardano, who built also two stablecoin projects, who I got into the team as well, who helped us define tasks and basically define the white paper, because he was also experienced in how to maintain stability for stablecoins, right? And then we started just to build on top of that, right? We started to build that, and over time got new team members involved. And then the vision basically came to that point now, right? You go step by step, and then at the end you just land somewhere. And we on the way optimized processes and even changed so many things that we thought was good at the beginning, right? And then we just changed, like the past 5 months, I think there was just like basically changes. We were done already 5 months ago. We were like, okay, what can we optimize? How can we do something better or more user friendly or less expensive, right? And yeah, this is then basically how we came to that point, right? And yeah, I can explain also more about AlphBanx, how that works in detail if you like.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, sure. So, so at AlphBanx, you will basically, the main part will be probably the borrowing side. Users will be able to borrow against their Alph at a minimum collateral ratio of 150%, meaning if you deposit $150, you will be able to borrow $100, which is very dangerous because it will be straight liquidated if it drops a little bit, right? But we're in discussion right now with the team if we should start maybe at 200%, because at the beginning, right, it's important when there's not a lot of liquidity to be a bit more safe at the early first weeks, right? This will probably be the main usage of the users, right? People want to buy more ALF, right? Basically sell the ABD into an LP pool, buy more ALF, and maybe even redeposit it, so it increases the collateral ratio. This is one side of the project, right? Which will be leverage in case you believe ALF will go to $10, $50, and you're very optimistic, you have ALF, but you want to have more ALF, you will do that, right? But on the other side, you have the opposite, which is the shorting side, right? The borrowing side is the leverage, and the auction pools are basically shorting. But the good thing on the auction side is like, so we will have like most people use the testnet, right? So there will be 4 different discount pools: 5%, 10, 15, and 20%. Which means basically you can deposit the stable coin into the 5% discount pool. If now a user gets liquidated at 150% collateral ratio, the funds in the 5% discount pool will be used, ABD, the stable coin, to repay the debt of the liquidated user. And in exchange, all these users in the 5% pool will basically get ALF plus 5%. So you would basically bet on a liquidation, and in case ALF drops in price, you will get even 5% on top of the market price of ALF. You could, if you want to, take the ALF and sell it again to ABD and redeposit it. where you would make a straight 5% profit, right? And if the 5% pool, for example, is empty because like a lot of liquidations happen, it will go to the 10% pool. So now people in the 10% pool will the ABD will be used to repay the debt of those users, and you will get ALF in return plus 10% more. If ALF is $1, you get $1.10. Basically $1 gets liquidated, you will get $1.10 worth of ALF. Now you can sell it and then basically make 10%. If that pool is emptied again because massive liquidation happened, it goes to the 15% pool and even to the 20% pool. So the nice thing with auction pools, which I think is really interesting, it's basically a short position on ALF. But if you leverage ALF short on a perp, right? The issue is if ALF spikes up, you lose funds or you get liquidated. But with AlphBanx, you can basically short the loans. But if ALF goes to $5, you don't have any loss. You still keep your stable coins in those pools and you generate yield, because all the interest rates that the borrowers pay, all the liquidations that happens, there's like a 5% liquidation fee, there's a redemption fee, all these fees collected will be redistributed to the liquidity providers in the auction pool, right? So that means that even if you short with your stable coin the loans, and if ALF keeps pumping, you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to win in liquidation, but you're going to make probably a lot of yield, because if price starts to pump, more people will start to borrow. So when you have a short position on ALF, if ALF goes up in price, you lose money. In our case, if you short the loans and ALF goes up, you lose nothing. You get even yield back. And if ALF goes down, you can make an arbitrage trade of up to 20%. So it's like I always say it's like a risk-free short position, because if it goes up, you profit. If it goes down, you profit, which is actually more interesting than, for me, I feel, the leverage side, right? Because there you can really, like, just imagine at the end of a bull run, ALF is at $20, like, and you want to short ALF, but you don't know when the time is right, because maybe there's one more spike up. You could just deposit ABD into the 20% pool, and once the bear market hits, people will get liquidated, and you can basically have your own small bull run without risk of liquidations, right? So I feel like there's this one side, the leverage side, which is interesting at the beginning of the bull run, and the auction side more towards the end, right? And there will be a market between longers and the shorters, right? It's like on a perp exchange, you have longers and you have shorters, but the shorters will be will have less risk in that case, right? These are the two sides, right? And then we'll have also a redemption mechanism. So people need to understand that we will have 8 different interest tiers. That means that the users will be able to borrow at their own interest rate. So you can choose 1%, 3%, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30. Now the question is, why would I borrow for 30% when I can choose 1? Now is where the redemption option mechanism comes in place, which is important for the stability and the peg of the stablecoin. So how does that work? So basically, all loans will be sorted on our platform from lowest interest rate to highest interest rate. The lowest interest rate is, let's say, 1%, right? So if now a user wants to redeem ABD, let's say he has ABD and he wants to get ALF in return, he could do that on a DEX, right? But let's say on an LP, on a DEX, you have ALF and ABD in that pair. But because a lot of people sold ABD into that pool to buy ALF, ABD might be 99 cents or 98 cents, right? So how do we maintain the peg to $1? And that's where the redemption option comes in place. So now a user, which is also like a profitable way for users to interact with AlphBanx, is if ABD is at 95 cents, let's say, you could buy ABD for 95 cents, go on AlphBanx platform and redeem it the 95 cents for $1 and arbitrage, make the profit, right? What will happen is that people will buy the ABD from the LP pool, right? You have ALF and ABD in the pool, and it's 95 cents because there's a too high amount of ABD in that pool. So now we incentivize users to buy the ABD for 95 cents. So the pool gets less and less and less in ABD, and the price goes back to $1, right? Because people basically redeem the loans, and the loans are all sorted from lowest interest rate to highest. So that means that if you have low interest rate, you might be redeemed first, right? So the protocol itself incentivizes users to choose a higher interest rate. That's also good, because if you choose a higher interest rate, that means that the fees generated will go back to the auction pool and increase the demand for uh, auctioneers in case liquidations happen, which is important, right? We will need liquidity in those pools. How do we get that? We only get that if we force people to choose a higher interest rate because they don't want to be redeemed, right? So this is basically the way that redemption works, which is a lot of projects use the same mechanism, right? Um, and that's how we keep the peg, right? We keep the peg because people buy ABD from an LP pool when it's under the peg to redeem it for $1, uh, lowering the supply of ABD, bringing it back 1-to-1 in the ratio to ALPH ABD, and then the peg is at $1. So this is why there is this redemption option, right? And also, if a user now gets redeemed, the user that gets redeemed doesn't lose anything. Like, you can make an example of, like, you deposit $150 ALPH, you get $100 ABD. Now you take the $100 ABD and buy $100 ALPH. So now you have like $150 ALPH plus $100 ALPH. So you have $250, right? But your debt is only $100, right? So if somebody redeems $100 from you, you will still have basically your initial invest. You won't lose anything, right? You will still have the 150 ALPH, because as well, there is like a 1% redemption fee, and 0.5% of that redemption fee will go back to the person who will be redeemed, right? So in case you are being redeemed, you're not losing anything. It's just as a safety mechanism for the peg stability, right? And this is an important part, right? But there will be a bot as well from our side that will trade, that as well, right? And
So
anybody
there's
else
a
can.
lot of options. There's a lot of options for users, so they can go on the short side. So it allows users to, like you were saying earlier, profit during the bear as well if they want to, short alpha. So basically, it's a plethora of options, and this is I'm assuming you're trying to say this is an ecosystem you see being used, regardless if it's a bull or a bear.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if it's a bull, probably most people will borrow. But if a lot of people borrow, that means like you get high APY on stable coins, right? And if people want to exit ALPH into stable coins, but they say like, okay, if I'm in USDT, I get nothing. I can just take ABD, get into the 20% discount pool, probably not even buy ALPH, right? When it gets liquidated, because 5% and 10% pool will be prioritized. But during that time, you still get yield on top of that, right? And yeah, like you can basically, in peak bull runs, there will be so much borrowing amounts, right? And those people will probably be, like we all are, always at the peak, so confident that it will go more up, more up, more up. And if you are a bit smarter than we are, because we're mostly emotional, right, then those people can arbitrage the liquidations, and you know how cascade of liquidation might happen. And if you can basically loop 10% on liquidations once a week, you could like make 10% on your capital. If you put $100,000 in and every week one gets liquidated, you make 10K a week without the risk of liquidation to the upside, because if it goes up, you don't get liquidated on our side, right? So it's like
Interesting.
we have both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So, so, so
really interesting. Let me ask you one thing, Tim. I kind of want to backpedal a little bit, and ask you about that there was basically a key transition in your team. You went from outsourcing devs, who you discussed earlier, and you brought in Alephium devs who are kind of working in the ecosystem. So I guess I'd ask, what led to that decision, and can you tell us about who's on the current dev team? Me personally, I know you brought in somebody who's one of my favorite devs because he created what I think is the best launchpad on any ecosystem, period. But yeah, basically, my question would be if you could talk about what led to that decision and tell us who the current dev team is.
Yes, sure. So basically, as I said, like I got in touch with the developers from Phantom because I knew them through the ATM business, right? We had like a friendship already. We've met already in Dubai previously in person, right? And they were the first person that came to mind. But when we started everything, it was a bit unorganized because I was not technical enough to basically structure and manage the development, right? So after a while, I realized, okay, we need someone as a CTO who can basically bridge the gap between my vision and the technical knowledge that's required to build something that complex, right? Because my devs were talking to me, so what should we do now? And I was like, you should know, like, don't ask me, you should know what's best, right? And because I wasn't technical enough, we went with the approach, okay, let's get Crodo, let's talk to Crodo, right? We were in contact, in touch with him through our launch on AlphBanx, right? And we really talked many times, even after and before that, right? A lot. So we talked and said, hey, how does it look for you, right? There's not a lot of going on at the launchpad currently, not too much steps launching. Are you maybe free to join the team as a CTO and help us optimize the workflow so we can save funds as well and optimize the process? He said, of course, let's do it. And from that time on, then we started to get another front end guy into our team who basically is working now on or finished now the arbitrage bot to maintain the peg, who is helping with the DeFi Llama implementation, right, which will be there once we go on mainnet, right? And we got another person who worked on AlphPad as well, who is a tester who basically tests um, the contracts and sees if there are any issues or optimization ideas. So we have those three people, right? Croder, then we have a front end, back end developer, and then we have the tester. And at the same time, we still have our team that we had previously that worked on Phantom, but they are now being managed by Croder in a efficient way with defined tasks and timelines. And since he came into the project, we really are much more efficient, much more faster, even better in any way. So I'm so happy that he joined because he's the reason why everything is going now so much faster, right? And as well, some issues were found through him as well. But
And Tim,
we are, yeah.
hey Tim, no, I mean let me just jump in. Croder, maybe you could jump in here. How has that shift basically changed your workflow or the way you're developing AlphBanx, basically taking it over, managing the devs? How has that shifted the workflow, your work velocity? If you give us a little bit of insight on that.
Hey guys, you can hear me well, right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So as you probably know from previous talks with Ain as well, inheriting code base and obligations, it's always difficult and it's always a rough start. But I think we are headed to a great start and we managed to put many things on track, put in some structure, some way of work, and some way of quality assurance and those important processes. So it's never just about delivering code. You need to make sure the code is good, the product is usable. So there are many steps that need to be included in it to ship a finalized product. And we took the time to do all of this and also think about what we want to build extra stuff because like initial version was here is the protocol, there it's just the protocol and there is that. But then we started working with Timothy to establish what extra stuff do we need. Do we need to have a bot to maintain the pack? Do we need to have some external integrations? Do we need to have alerting system for loans? So we built a list of these things that are needed. So we are working on shipping those as well. So hopefully by the time mainnet is launched, everything will be in great shape. There will be everything that you expect to be. And even if there is something missing, there is a structure, there is a team that will continue working and improving the protocol over time.
So are you actually a hands-on keyboard dev with ABX code, or are you more of a project manager, guide, or just the technical contact to help organize the troops?
Yeah, technically I don't write any code, but I still, interact with the code. I do regular reviews to check for any potential issues, for any possible improvements. But yeah, technically I don't do the coding for AlphBanx. I just do the reviews, planning, and uh, let's call it more management
No, that's awesome. No,
focus.
it totally makes sense that the synergies between you and Tim align well, right? Tim has his strengths. Obviously, you have your strengths with code, and you've been around Ralph Alephium for a while now. So I can imagine the efficiencies that that's brought you, and that's yeah, it's super exciting. That's awesome. Um, Okay. Hey, I guess a comment. I see I'm being told some people are asking to come speak. For now, we're gonna just leave the current speakers up here and just go back and forth. But um, towards the end of the space, I'll make a notification of if you want to come up and ask a question, you can. But for now, we're gonna hold off on that. All right, let's pivot and talk about the roadmap from what actually is gonna be available with mainnet versus what's coming post mainnet. Can we quickly recap that, Tim?
Yeah, I think Crota can probably do it more detailed than me. I know that yeah, we're doing the arbitrage bot, which is the main focus right now, right? So if you want to know how that works, so if ABD goes above $1, the bot will basically mint, take a loan out, right? To basically lower the ABD price to $1 again. And if it's under $1, right, we will basically buy ABD from the pool and redeem it to have kind of always $1 peg, right? This is their main goal, and we're working on like the DeFi Llama implementation, right? So you can track the stats and TVL of AlphBanx there, and yeah, we you can see on the website we updated, like I think 3 days ago, our designer updated on the website the next milestones we're working on.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, cool. Um, sorry. Yeah, I'm just reading. Okay, no, that
For us now, mainly it's just we right now on Monday, I think it's the day when we will finalize the reassessment of the audit, right? And then if the auditors check it and tell us there is no more findings, then that means we will sit down with the whole team and plan like, okay, should we start actually at 150% collateral ratio, or should we better start at 200? You know,
what
because
is the I guess the advantage or disadvantage or the safety protocols are behind that decision, 150% versus 200%? Like what are the factors that will help you decide which route you go?
so 150% is like an average amount, or like the amount that most DeFi or stablecoin projects use. You know, Liquidity Maker, they have all 150%, right? If we have 200%, it will mean just the stablecoin will be backed $2 to $1, right? $2 ALPH will back $1 of stablecoin. So if ALPH starts to drop massively, we still have 100%, right? We still have like a 50% decline in ALPH price to keep the peg stable,
I
right?
see. So
And
200% safer for the protocol itself than 150% is not unsafe, but initially, at least while you're just ramping up, 200% would be considered safer, essentially for
exactly.
ABD.
And especially now, it depends also with discussions with the Alephium team, you know, regarding liquidity, because they will help us, of course, to have an initial liquidity in that market, right? Because we know as well a lot of people want to borrow, but we also know that most people, when they deposit ALPH as collateral and mint ABD, they will dump the ABD into the LP pool to buy more ALPH, right? And if like a lot of people will have lots of ALPH and sell a lot of ABD, that means like if the liquidity pool is not thick enough, there will be DPEG in the short run, which will be redeeming a lot of users on the
Yep.
platform, right? So we don't want to have a lot
Okay.
of people being redeemed, right? So we're in discussion with Crota and the team, and we will update the community on the approach. But even if we start at 200%, we might after like a week or two get down to 150.
That makes sense, Tim. Let me ask you this: when can we expect mainnet, and how are the audit results going? Do we have any timelines on that?
I think maybe Crota can help there a bit more than me.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the audit is going well. We had some, let's say, not major, but let's say medium level concerns that needed to be addressed. Those were all addressed so far. So right now we are just in the final process of polishing, updating documentation to reflect everything correctly, and minor tweaks to the code. So nothing major left to be done. We are just at the polishing stage, but we want to pass the audit with flying colors. So we are making sure that everything is done properly, everything is documented properly. So we want to be 100 for the launch.
I think your roadmap, if I'm looking at it right, you're expecting, if I'm reading the roadmap right, 5/22. So towards the end of this month is when you're targeting to go mainnet. Is that just so it's just gonna, it all depends on just the band. So the way I understand it, I guess, and let me repeat it this way so it's clear with the community. But you submit your code to the audit team. They come back with findings. You guys do the work to address the findings. You resubmit, and you keep going back and forth with the audit team until they basically say, "Yeah, good." That's more or less the flow, and then update documentation along with it. But it's just back and forth until there's no more
Yeah,
findings.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the exact process. So overall, there are I think about 50 points that were addressed over time. So right now we are in the process of closing all of them, and even the most minor ones. So we want to have nothing left. Like this is not up to standard or spec. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
we
that
are really doing it to pass with flying colors, and yeah, we won't stop until everything is shipshape. And as you said, as you described the process, you can imagine it's difficult to time this. So it's difficult to give an exact day of launch, as with any audit process. So yeah, we are fully focused on that, and as soon as we close the audit, we'll schedule the launch day.
so, i.e. close. We're close, but understood in terms of you don't want to pin it down to an exact date. But let's hope it's within weeks. It's very close, guys. So is testnet still open and available for people to play around with ABX and learn?
Yes.
Or yeah, okay.
Yes, but also testnet is regularly updated. So every time we do some fixes, we have to re-update the testnet, retest everything. So there have been a few new deployments on testnet. So if you had some ABD or AlphBanx there, it's probably gone right now. But yeah, you can start fresh, take out a loan, mint ABD, try the auction pool. So yeah.
I highly suggest people, if you haven't used AlphBanx on testnet to do it and just learn the mechanics of how to utilize the different, I guess, features on ABX, borrowing, redemption, loan, whatever. Just play around with it and familiarize yourself with the platform before it's real money. So if you have any questions on, I guess let's talk about that. If people need testnet tokens, is there a way for them to get it? Is there a faucet, or how can people participate? Is it already distributed, or do you have any
Yeah,
feedback on that?
they can send us a message in Telegram. We send it most, or like all the people, the tokens to test it. But I think most of people already tested it, right? We like
Sure.
already pretty long on testnet, but yeah, if anybody wants tokens, just write us on Telegram, and we just send you a bunch of AVX and Alph, and then you can just play around.
Okay. Let's play out a very simple example for the community just so they can follow. Let's just say someone's brand new to a lending platform. They just want to buy more Alph, so they use their Alph as collateral to get ABD and buy more Alph and just hold. And essentially what they're hoping for when they do that is that the price of Alph goes up because their loan stays fixed and they can eventually pay back their loan. And if Alph goes up, everything's great and they made money. That's more or less the what someone's looking for if they use their Alph as collateral to buy more Alph. Am I right there?
Exactly. So the main idea is like, yeah, if you believe price will go up, you deposit Alpha's collateral, mint ABD, and then what you can do, you can buy with the ABD on a DEX Alph, right? I wouldn't use the ABD to redeem on the platform to get Alph because you pay like a 1% fee, right? So it's better to do that through a DEX to get your Alph. And then what you could do with those Alphs, if you don't want to sell them, right, you can straight deposit them again back into the smart contract and as collateral. That would increase your collateral ratio more, right? Like if you have $150 as collateral, $150 in, and you borrow $100, now the collateral ratio is 150%, right? But if you exchange the $100 ABD for Alph, and then you deposit them again, your collateral ratio goes now up to 250 because you deposit 100 more. So now you increase your collateral ratio to 250. And now, it needs to drop to 150% collateral to be liquidated, right?
Yep.
You could now even loop again and borrow more. You could borrow now again, right? On that, but I wouldn't do that. And it's going to be, you're leveraging more, right? You're increasing your leverage instead of you're increasing it 3, 4x, 5x, right? That means then if it drops a little bit, you will be fully liquidated.
Yep.
But this is the main idea behind it. And on the platform itself, we will have tools. For example, we will be able to see through a bar your collateral ratio and where you are at the current stage. It will be updated based on the Oracle price of Alph, And now what our front-end dev is as well building, we're building a notification bot for Telegram. So you will be able to connect basically your Alephium wallet with your loan. And then in case the collateral ratio drops or Alpha price drops and your collateral ratio decreases, you will get a message on your Telegram, right? Like, oh, that 180%, watch out. So what you can do in that case, then you could just go on your computer and then redeposit more Alpha as safety, right? To increase that collateral ratio or repay some debt, right?
Yep.
But most people will probably just increase more Alpha, right? And be like, okay, I'm going to put just more Alpha in there just to increase it, right? Until the price goes up again.
Yeah, so guys, the so what of that is Alephium is still a small cap, very volatile, and never go 100. Don't take your full bag and borrow to increase your to buy more Alpha and to double your bet because if it drops and you get liquidated, you're in trouble. So always play around with small amounts and be careful.
I mean,
So
one
the
of the
way
good
I understand it, Tim, is there's two ways you could two ways to where your loan could be redeemed. One is the price drops and you just fall under the 150% collateralization and you just get redeemed. Another is a user actually comes in and manually buys out your option via redemption, right? So you can do it versus via the automatically because the price dropped, or someone could. There's a strategy behind users actually coming in and physically redeeming your option or your loan and closing it out, right? Is that true?
Yeah. So also,
So
if you
in
get
that,
liquidated at like 150%, you will lose 5% if basically your loan will be liquidated in the 5% discount pool.
yep.
Basically, you will lose 5%, right, in of your collateral. So you will still have like if you put $150 and like you borrow 100, then you will be liquidated, but you still have like $45 on your account. You know, like you will still have parts of your collateral, right? It's not like you lose everything and you completely wrecked. You will
Sure.
just basically lose a small portion, right? And
So
the other
so
side
that's
is,
where that's where the advantage of keeping so where how does someone prevent the risk of being manually redeemed? Is it having a higher collateralization ratio? Is it having a higher interest rate? Is it both? Like what if I don't
so
if I want to completely reduce my risk of being not you can't completely reduce it, but if I want to lessen my risk of being redeemed, what should my strategy be?
okay, so if you there's two ways. Like there's the liquidation, which is dependent on the collateral ratio. So let's say you don't want to be liquidated, you could like deposit like $3,000, borrow 1,000. You will have a 300% collateral ratio. Get the $1,000 by Alf, redeposit it. Now your collateral ratio is 400%, right? So Alf could drop technically, like you can calculate it, right? It can drop more than half, and you still won't be liquidated, right? Which is pretty safe. I mean, it also depends, right? In crypto, we can drop 90%, but I mean, Alf already dropped
Uh,
95%. So
I,
um,
I think the price dropping is clear, and I fully understood that. Now, what about for the manual redemption of say Rashad wants to come in and redeem my loan? Is that if how do you do your best? Is that just literally monitor the loans, monitor the percentages, the lending rates, and not try to because you were saying you organize the loans based on interest rate, so you just don't want to be at the top of the list, essentially, right? You want to actually
exactly.
monitor the list of loans that could be redeemed and make sure you're not on the next up list. Is that more or less the strategy?
So the protocol basically supports users that choose a higher interest rate. It's like, you know, they pay more to AlphBanx auctioneers and ABX stakers because the yield from the interest rate will be distributed to the auctioneers. So the protocol itself wants people that are willing to pay more, right? Because they are good users, right? Somebody that pays 1% will not pay a lot, right? So somebody that pays 10, 15% a year will be very far away from being redeemed. So you need to understand that all loans will be sorted by interest rate, one being the lowest, 30 the highest, right? And then inside the 1%, there will be as well a lot of 1%ers, right? Inside those 1%ers, we will filter it again by collateral ratio. So if you have like a 500% collateral ratio at 1%, and somebody at 1% has 160% collateral ratio, and now somebody redeems a user, the person with the lowest collateral ratio and the lowest interest rate will be redeemed first because he doesn't pay a lot to the protocol, which is not good for all the auctioneers because they want to make money. So he's like technically seen not a good customer, right? And he is a dangerous customer as well because he might rock the protocol by overly being leveraged, which is not good overall, right? So we redeem him first, and then later the guy with the higher collateral ratio, right? But if you're in the 10% pool, you can have 151% collateral ratio and you won't be redeemed if there are a lot of users in the 5%, 3%, and 1%, you know. So if you want to
Yeah.
have like a say like a no headache, you just go 10 to 15% probably. I mean, Maker has also around 20% interest rate on the loan in bull runs, right? So 10% can be seen as still not a lot, right? Other protocols have less, you know, it depends always on the protocol itself, right? So yeah, if you
Yeah,
want to have
you're getting me really excited, Tim, just because the strategy and the amount of options that you have to actually utilize the protocol is big, right? The opportunities you have to make money are or even just play around in the protocol there's many different strategies that you can take using AlphBanx. It's yeah.
like I can say, look, you can have leverage, right? You can basically, if you believe up goes to $1 before it goes to 30 cents, then you go leverage. You know, if you have like 200% collateral ratio, you have, you know, you can leverage that position and have more when it reaches $1, right? Then you have the auction pool side, which is shorting loans without risk of liquidation to the upside. you will make during that time until loans start to be liquidated. You make yield because the yield of the borrowers, which we hope for the auctioneers will be high because they don't want to be redeemed, which is good as well, right? Auctioneers make money in Alph. You pay deposit stablecoin, you get Alph, which is good. Then you have the redemption side. If the stablecoin depegs to 95 cents, you can buy it for 95 cents and get $1 back on Alph. Then you can take the Alph, sell it for ABD again for 96 cents, redeem it again until ABD is at $1. So you could basically build an arbitrage bot if you wanted to, or you can do it manually, right? If the peg drops and redeem users, which basically repegs the coin and gets rid of unhealthy loans, right? Which is
Yeah,
another.
I'm assuming the arbitrage opportunities will be greater in the beginning. 100%. Someone somewhere will build arbitrage bots at some point, but I'm assuming it won't be out from day one. So the arb opportunities will be greater in the beginning, and
We'll have
then
always.
it
We will
always
have
is,
other.
right? APR is the opportunity to make high interest rate. It's always higher in the beginning.
Yes, yes. And we will have our own arbitrage bot, right? At the beginning, just to bring more stability in, right? And the bot will be very close to $1 always, right? We will try to maintain it as close as possible. And yeah, and over
What
time, with more liquidity, we'll decrease the collateral ratio and see what we can do until a later stage we become fully a decentralized autonomous organization and we allow the ABX holders to vote on certain things. But at the beginning, it's important to be able to change certain parameters in case there is too much liquidations happening or too much risky borrowing, right? Which is normal in most DeFi projects that they launch in control of changeable parameters.
what I guess real quick, I want to what DEX is ABD going to be on to start with? Is it AN and Alephium? Is it one? Is it the other? Where are you going to be at?
I mean, we're still discussing internally with the team and as well with the Alephium team. So we'll see
So soon.
what we want to launch.
Announcement soon.
But yeah, I think we're for sure going to try to incentivize those pools as well, right? As much as possible. And I mean, we want at the end, of course, that people as well can make money with Alph ABD LP, right? Because we will incentivize those pools as much as possible to have like high liquidity in those pools in case liquidations happen or in case new users with larger sums want to borrow, right? Because if we have two big whales and the pool is very small, that will cause a lot of redemptions, right? And to protect lots of redemptions to happen, we need high pools, and the only way to incentivize is to give people maybe APX or Alph. Yeah.
Okay. I guess so. Mini Judy posted a couple questions for the. We'll start with this one for the earn pool. Are there lockup periods or extra fees if they withdraw from during an auction? I guess can you comment on how that works within the earn pool?
I think there is like a 0.5% fee if you take the money out, but you'll get yield during that time, right? If you want to get it out. And there's like a small fee that's being paid once you win an auction, right? When you like, let's say, you win the 5% pool, you still pay like 0.5% to the ecosystem. And this tokens goes back not to us, but to the community itself, to ABX stakers and to ABD liquidity providers in auction pool. If like you are in the 10% pool, you'll pay 1% fee once you win the auction, so you technically make 9%. Because like in that case, you generate just more yield, and like more yield means more incentive for new users to come in, right? So it's like as more yield we can generate for the protocol itself, as more we incentivize users to provide liquidity to help out, right? Which makes it more safe, right?
Yeah, so it's to your point, it's a way to incentivize. You need liquidity. Bottom line, you need liquidity, and
Exactly.
the more fees that the platform generates, the higher the APR rewards can be to incentivize liquidity until you hit an equilibrium point. I'm assuming very early on the APR and in those pools will be high until you hit an equilibrium point and get more and more liquidity, which helps the platform. So no, totally makes sense.
If you have like very low fees, then like let's say we would have 1% borrowing fee overall, no redemption option. Then I mean, why would people even deposit, like the stablecoin in the auction pools? If they don't get any money on the way, like if no liquidations happen in like 3 months because Alpha is going up, that person in the auction pool will sit there, make no yield, miss the train, not be long in Alpha, but be like short because he's holding a stablecoin. So the only way we can compensate them is by creating higher incentives for higher interest rates, so that at least the people in auction pool that are there to protect the pack, in case of liquidations happen, they only come when they get some kind of yield. And like crypto, they don't want 3% a year, they want more. So we need to have like kind of higher fee structure, which is fun as well, because like every side wants to make some kind of money, right? The guy that spends maybe 15% a year on the loan says 15% is so much, but like Alf just made 30% like in the last 7 days, right? You know how crypto can move in like a year, can 5x, 10x. So like 15% is high compared to the normal financial industry, but like in crypto, 15% can be worth it, right? I mean, I borrowed at 20% on Aave, or like 12%, I borrowed 12% BTC, right? But I like got like Bitcoin make 3x. So even 12% seems a lot, but not when the bull run is coming, right? And especially when the bull run comes, higher fees are it's important, because we need auctioneers to buy back in case of liquidations, right? If we have low fees, everybody borrows, and there's like an imbalance, like 99% borrow and 1% is just waiting for liquidation. But like if it peaks out and 99 people get liquidated, then the stablecoin depegs straight away.
Yeah, spot on.
You
All
said
right,
spot
come
on.
on now. You weren't going to say it, and you blatantly said it right there.
Actually, Ron, that was a complete accident. I swear to God. I was trying. I say that when I'm trying to fill the void of silence. And I swear to you, I was in the middle of thought of where I wanted to transition. It, a couple things, guys. Wow. I have four monitors up right now. On one of them, it literally says "Don't say spot on," and I was staring at it as I said it. So that you got, I don't know. I can't say because I'm getting DM'd and insider trading and blah blah blah. Not to say it, but I wasn't reading it, and it just happened. And I blame you guys for talking about it. How you doing,
Well,
Ron?
just say it, Ryan. It makes you feel better. Come on,
Yeah.
it's your trademark. Just say it. Go with it.
Yeah. How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing good. Do the listeners know about what we have going on here? About why you should or shouldn't have said that?
I don't know. Probably some of them yes, some of them no. Go ahead and explain what happened.
All right, real quick. We're working on a decentralized prediction market on Alephium called Aura. You may have heard of it, and we're doing like a private test net right now that we just opened up to the BlockFlowDAO. I made a market saying, "Will Ryan say spot on?" in the BlockFlowDAO X space, and seemed like he was pretty convinced to say no. I owned shares of yes. I actually just sold the shares of yes because I knew he wasn't going to say it. I actually bought no shares, and now he says it. So I just got screwed.
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry that was. Anyway, all right. Back to ABX. Sorry, guys. It happened.
I should
Sorry
have
if you
made it an
lost
over
one.
under. I should have been like over under 1.5 spot ons.
Yeah. All right, Ron. Were you have you been listening to the space? We've been going for an hour now. Is there anything else you think we need to discuss around ABX or missed or should elaborate on?
I just got here like 10 minutes ago, so I will have to go back and listen.
Oh, yeah, no problem. All right. Any burning questions you want to ask Tim or Croter? If not,
Um,
we can just keep going. I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but
well, I mean, I guess the main one is when.
yeah, we covered that.
Yeah,
The
we think towards the end of the month if everything goes well. Yeah, but we
they're
give a date.
they're very close. They're in the final
So
steps, the back
basically,
and
it's
forth with the
soon.
audit.
It's soon.
Yeah, very close. They're in the back and forth steps with the audit team, and once they get the all clear with the audit team and get the documentation updated and get decks and liquidity stuff finalized, it's a go. So it's all moving and hopefully within the coming weeks, end of the month. We're already in the 10th of May, guys. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
So 2 to 3 weeks, we can maybe expect AlphBanx to go live on mainnet and cause a sensation. And I think the timing is pretty good because markets seem to be picking up. So I think it's also auspicious here when it comes to the timing of AlphBanx.
Yeah. The market sentiment definitely, it seems
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
better to launch as well. Like if we would have launched at $2-3, that would be very bad for the protocol as well with the low liquidity. But
yeah,
like
but
to
I don't
launch like at the bottom is the best because you need to think about it. We're basically giving 65% liquidity on each euro coming in. So if like $1 million come in, technically there will be $650,000 more liquidity in the ecosystem that could buy ALF, which would automatically result in a ALF increase as well, right? And then if ALF increases as well, the collateral ratio of all those users goes up as well, so they can borrow more, and like it's kind of like a positive feedback loop of loans. This is why 2021 DeFi summer sparked and crazy bull run, because people were just looping Bitcoin, ETH, and like buying more, and then buying altcoins and then looping them and then going up, 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 right? So it's like this. Yeah, it's good to have more liquidity, right? More tokens in the ecosystem, and also, more liquidity.
I think we need to acknowledge that 100% with going from $2 to $3 to where we're at now is not ideal, not great. Definitely wouldn't have been great if ABX was already on mainnet, and now that sentiment's changing, it's actual perfect timing, but it's just pure chance that it's working out this way. Tim, you've been full steam ahead since you've started this, and it's not. This is just chance of the timing of how it worked out, and I think you're right in that it worked out for the best. But it's you weren't you're not trying to time the market. It's just how it's worked out.
we
So.
got lucky, we want to launch earlier, but like, all the optimization ideas that we got from different people led us to change that. But like looking now in retrospect, it's maybe even a positive thing, to be honest, because now we had more time to optimize it, optimize the team, optimize workflow. Yeah, and now we like basically a reset in the ALF price. All the hype or all the like overly leveraged people are out, which is good to really build a sustainable community of people that really want to use the project in the long run, right? And not speculate and yeah.
Okay, let's pivot to presence. I think this is a good time. The password to mint your presence is mainnet. Mainnet, one word, all lowercase. So please go mint your presence, and we'll pick a winner. And send them $20 worth of ABX.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, the link, Mark just confirmed the links in the comments. It's valid for 2 hours. So it is 1:05 Eastern time as of right now. The link will be live till 3:05 Eastern time. feel free to go mint your presence. Again, oh, he confirmed 3 hours. Sorry, 3 hours. So till 4:05 Eastern time. Anyway, the password to mint your presence is mainnet, all one word, all lowercase.
And get some potentially win some free ABX tokens that you'll be able to use hopefully in a few weeks. So I'm excited. I'm excited for AlphBanx launching. I don't know about you, Ryan, but this is going to be, I think, pretty big news for the Alpha ecosystem.
I'm incredibly excited. I've been excited for AlphBanx since Tim said he was building this. So it is there's so much that you can do. I mean, even on a DEX, guys, like a DEX, you can deposit, go into liquidity pools. Elyxium's a little bit more interactive. Of you can vote, bribe, whatever. There's more you can do than that. But then transit over to a lending protocol. There's even more that you can learn, and I love playing the strategy game and learning. And I'm not a DeFi expert by any means. I'm not even really that familiar with lending protocols. I'm learning, so I'm excited to learn and just play around with it. And I'm going to try to heed my own advice, or the advice that we gave on this space, to be responsible and only play with a couple $100 to start as I get comfortable, etc. But I know it's going to be hard. I'll just say that. So anyway, just be careful, guys. Um, All right. If I think, Tim, unless any of you guys have any last comments, I think we can. Yeah, I guess any last comments or anything you want to get out that we didn't get to to this point.
I think most of things are done, right? I think maybe one thing we didn't talk about is how the um, how the how the how the fees are distributed on the protocol, because there is like ABX
Mhm.
stakers, and
Yep.
there is as well liquidity providers in auction pool. And so we've decided at the beginning to basically incentivize first the auction pools, right? First focus on the health of the business and the stablecoin. So it works like that. So let's say if 80% of all stablecoins in circulation are, let's say, staked or like deposited into the auction pool, that means only 20% of fees will go to the auction pool and 80% to ABX stakers. And if there's only, let's say, of all the stablecoins in circulation, only 20% in the auction pool, that means 80% of fees will go to the auction pool to incentivize more liquidity, and then only 20% to ABX stakers. So
So are you
the
saying
main,
it's dynamic in order
yeah,
to equalize the liquidity amongst the pools?
yeah. If we have 80% of all stablecoins in circulation in the auction pool, that means
Mm-hmm.
like it's very safe, right? That's very,
Yep.
very safe. And
Yep.
most, like all the stablecoins are actually in the pool. So then we want to basically redistribute 80% then of all the fees to ABX stakers, because they are the ones that finance the project, right? Through seed rounds, through the AlphPad launch, which is all like the reason why people buy ABX, right? So if you buy ABX and the the long-term success of AlphBanx is there when the liquidity pools are full, most of the fees will go to the stakers, right? And this will balance itself out based on supply and demand, right? Which is important. So first we use the profit of AlphBanx to incentivize the stability of the stablecoin. Once the stablecoin and the project itself runs smoothly and is pretty safe and the liquidity is safe, then we redistribute those to the holders of the project, to basically the stockholders, you could say, right? Like a dividend payout.
So Tim, one thing that I've been thinking about, I think one of the unique things of AlphBanks is this custom interest rate that you can choose. I don't know if any other protocols do that, but you have this ability to choose your customize the interest rate. And obviously, the lower rates have higher priority, right? If when it comes to liquidation, but it gives users this element of choice, and they can build their strategy, based on that.
Exactly. And if you think about it, if you have like, let's say 30% of users in 1%, 30% of users in 3, and 30% in 5, that means it wouldn't even make sense for you to borrow at 10%, because you wouldn't be
Right.
redeemed even if you choose 5%, because you know that there's most of the users are in 1 and 3 and then in 5. So but if people don't go even in 1, don't go in 3, start going at 5, then at 10, at 15, at 20, then that means you should go probably at 20. So what we basically do, we basically
Got it.
create,
Got it. So,
let
so,
the
so that yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the exciting things. It's very dynamic. There's a bit of game theory going on, and like you said, the market designs because it decides the interest rate. Because, like you said, if it's 1, 3, 5%, putting it at 15, 20% makes no sense. So there's this dynamic free market happening that helps you make your choice. I think that's really, really exciting when it comes to AlphBanks. And the example you gave is great because it's cogent and it's simple, and it gives people an idea of the kind of options they'll have when using AlphBanks.
Yeah, yeah. I think at the end, probably the average won't be as high as people might think. I mean, we've seen on testnet a lot of people at 1, 3, 4, 5, and 10, but I think very little people had above 10, because people are scared, like, oh, 30% is so much, right? But I believe it's just a choice, right? What people can do, and then the market will find its equilibrium, and that's the fair value at the end, because people might say, but like other protocols have maybe 1 to 5% rate, we have 230, right? But if our users choose an average of 15, I mean, that's what the market actually is willing to pay for that loan at the current market, which is the fair price, right? It's like, yeah.
Well, to your point, in the very beginning, people are just going to be learning, jumping in, optimizing strategies, and with learning and optimizing strategies, it'll hit exactly what you just said, equilibrium. So it's going to be it's who knows? We'll see, guys. We'll see. It's going to be a little crazy in the beginning as people just jump in and learn.
And it's
So
important
just
to
be
notice that, for example, like, even if you get liquidated, you pay just a small liquidation fee, right? You won't lose like your fully
no,
collateral.
yeah, no.
So when you get redeemed, you don't lose anything. You have basically a zero profit, zero gain, right?
Yeah,
Like,
if you get redeemed, just create a new position. It's not that big of a deal.
exactly.
Yeah, getting redeemed. I'll point out the obvious to everyone. Getting redeemed is not nearly as big of a deal as getting closed because your collateralization ratio dropped below 150%. So just don't get don't get shorted, collateral, whatever it's called. Don't Getting
Yeah.
redeemed is not a big deal. Just maintain your collateralization ratio. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. You basically, if you put $150 worth of ALF and borrow $100 ABD, then buy with the $100 ALF, and you have basically $250 worth of ALF, right? And $100 debt. If somebody redeems you now, you'll still have $150 worth of ALF, which was your initial deposit. You don't lose anything. It's You don't lose. You are basically just providing the liquidity in case of an imbalance in the LP pool on a DEX, which we need to manage to keep it at $1, because that's when the trust of the community is built up.
Yep. Nope. Makes sense. I mean, so just the very simple way to explain it is you have 150% collateralization ratio. If the price goes down, you fall below 150%. If the price stays constant, you stay at 150%. If the price doubles, your ratio equally goes up with it, your collateralization ratio. And then with that, you can mint more ABD to bring your collateralization ratio back to 150%, and that's where looping comes in, as Tim was talking about earlier. And you can use your initial position as the bull run happens and price goes up to just keep looping and buying more and buying more and buying more. The risk with that is you're just upping you're maintaining 150% collateralization ratio, and if the or 200% or 300% or whatever you want to stay comfortable. But if you create a position and the price doubles, that your risk of getting liquidated is much lower. But if you loop, um and there's a correction, then you can get liquidated, right? So you're just guys, it's just a game. It's a game
Yeah,
and a way to make money, and just
I
have a
think
strategy and be careful.
I think the most fun part is like if we create really a good, long, strong community behind it, and let's say 10,000 people start to borrow, put 10K ALF in dollars, right, and start to borrow 5K. Like if all those people, this 10K people, buy 5K worth 10,000 times ALF, that means ALF will go up in price.
For sure. For sure.
When the 10,000 person is done doing that, that means that the first person can get again 6,000 out and do the same, and then until the next 10. So it's like basically this kind of, yeah, it's like, but it's like we create our own bull run if we have a strong community utilizing the new liquidity coming into the market, right? It's like
Ready, I'll keep playing it out. So the existing community does that, the price goes up, it catches other people's eyes, they join the community, our community grows, it catches sex people because their attention, because our volume goes. So yeah, 100%, you're spot on. So AlphBanx is incredibly important to the Alephium ecosystem. And it's very exciting. It is very exciting. I'm pumped for this to go on mainnet.
if you like looked at 2021, the whole bull run sparked, just DeFi was the reason, billions of dollars came into the market out of thin air, or not thin air, but backed by a token, which basically creates new liquidity, right? And if like 1,000 people start doing that, then after the thousands, the first can do it again until the thousand, and then it's again up, so the first can do it again, and then it can just basically, yeah, it's just leverage, right? It's just leverage, and it's unlimited. It's not peer-to-peer lending where you need to wait for another side to provide you the token in exchange for interest, right? But now you have a stable coin that's unlimited because it's minted based on collateral. So it means once you provide $1, you can always borrow 65% of that dollar every time without the need of a counterparty. That means, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay. Hey, one more time, guys. Mint your presence, get a unique NFT. The link is pinned below in the comments. The password is mainnet, all lowercase, one word, mainnet. In your Again, you get a unique NFT / a chance to win $20 of ABX. So yeah, go mint your presence. And then last call to anyone down below. If you want to come up and ask Tim or Croter a question, feel free to raise your hand and we'll accept. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys being on with us, and this has been a very, I guess, fun, yeah, just fun, good, enlightening conversation. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Tim, good to have you on here. Croter, who is an amazing dev, great to have you. We're happy that you're taking over AlphBanx, and I think I can speak for the DAO and the community. We can't wait for AlphBanx to go live. I think it's going to be a major catalyst for the Alephium ecosystem, and I think it's going to bring in a lot of people from other ecosystems. So I can't wait. I mean, it's probably weeks away. So you know, keep your eyes peeled because the announcement's going to be pretty big and exciting. So, Tim, I can't wait for this to go live. Like I said, I still remember when this was just an idea that you pitched in Athens, and now we're just weeks away from mainnet.
Yeah, guys, great to see you again as well. Ryan, Reshad, all of you. It was really fun, and I look forward to mainnet and to see you on the next meetup. probably
sure.
with TVL and like lots of loans open and ABX stakers and ABD liquidity providers and LP providers, and hopefully a higher ALPH price.
Alph fundamentals are strong. I got really excited by Mika's post the other day. Did everybody see it? Where Mika said he sat down with Chang, and it was something along the lines of he talked with Chang about what his vision for Alephium is post the next network upgrade to Navi. I butchered it again, Rashad. I'm sorry. But anyway, and he just said he was genuinely excited, and he said we're not ready, and Alephium's here to stay, and that got me excited. So
It's good as well for AlphBanx, like the user experience will be much better, especially since most people use Solana. You basically click one time and the transaction is through, right? There is no waiting time. So
yeah,
during
yeah.
testing,
So that's the next network upgrade we go to so I guess reminder to everyone. Lamon brought us from 64 to 16-second black times, and now Dunabi's taking us from 16 and cutting it a half to 8 seconds. So i- 8 is work. Reminder: Alephium is proof of work. 8 seconds is bringing us into the realm of being competitive with even proof of stake. So it's very exciting just from a just user experience level, but there's a lot more in it, from groupless addresses to many other, I guess, upgrades that developers and people building on Elf will notice. And then even beyond that, Mika hinted on the core team's not done with this next network upgrade. Apparently, they already have a vision of what they want to do next post this network upgrade. So, yeah, the future is bright. The future is very bright for Alephium, in my opinion, and I think AlphBanx will play a major role in helping to bring awareness and growth to the ecosystem. So yeah, very exciting.
Sorry to nitpick, Ryan, but you forgot about the Roan upgrade.
Roan, yeah, I did. You're right. Roan was the one that brought us from 64. Wait, so it was Roan, then Lamont, then
It was Lamon, then Roan, I think.
you're right. My bad. So Lamont brought the ability for like not smart contracts, but for like AN and whatever. Lemon did its thing, then Roan was the 64 to 16 seconds plus a bunch of other stuff, and then Denavi, you're right. So this is the third major network upgrade.
Hey, Ron, could we do a prediction market on Ryan mispronouncing Danube? Because like I'd like to buy yeses
Daniel.
on that. I'd like to go all in.
Dan Youb. I'm gonna put that on my monitor and write it out in a way that I'll remember.
He's still
I'm all in on
he's
that
still going to
one.
mispronounce it because I know he was trying hard not to say spot on this time. We've already got 3 of them.
Baby pointed out that I said it naturally, and I didn't even notice I said it. So if I wouldn't have said it, if the first time wasn't, the other times were. So oops.
We'll have to.
Well, I think what we're doing is next meetup we're taking Ryan on a cruise on the Danube River, second largest river in Europe, and that's how we're going to win him over. It's the only way. I've realized we have to take him swimming or on a cruise or something through the Danube. Only way we can make this happen. So
I mean that would be awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right, guys. I think this was a great space. I guess any last comments or thoughts from anyone?
no, this was a fantastic space. Tim Croter, thank you for coming. I'm seeing a lot of people joining fresh. How you doing, man? Redonder, all these people here. All I can say is please mint your presence and win some ABX tokens. So don't forget to do that.
All right, guys. Stay bullish. Promote
Thanks
Alephium.
for hearing us,
Promote it.
guys.
Yeah, it was great. Anyway, stay bullish. Promote AlphBanx. Get excited. It's mainnet soon. Future's bright. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank Bye. Bye.
All right. Take care, guys.